Hey guys, what's going on? Bobby here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at another onboard video. This one is actually from the last race at the Gateway Kartplex in the Ignite series. And I'm going to be doing what I did in the last video, kind of giving my opinion on some of the moves that are made throughout the video. And I'll also try to offer up some tips and tricks along the way. Also, before we get into it, I want to remind you guys about my Spreadshirt store at shop.spreadshirt.com/ATN network. That's where you can find these hoodies, you can find hats, you can find stickers, mugs, a whole bunch of other fun, awesome items. Check that out, link in the description, shop.spreadshirt.com/ATN network. All those funds basically help support the channel, helps me go out and do more racing cool stuff, allows me to keep making videos for you guys. So if you go check that out, I greatly appreciate it. And then last but not least, BobbyKrug.com. Well, I mean, that's just my website. I actually renovated it over the off season, but BobbyKrug.com/sponsorship is where you can find information on how you can further financially support the channel and the racing season. And I offer traditional brand sponsorship packages. So if you own a company, know somebody that owns a company, send them my way. Let's have a phone call. Let's chat it out. And let's help me kind of keep climbing the ladder in racing, along with helping out a company with their media needs, social media, video production, graphic design, photography. BobbyKrug.com/sponsorship. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this video. And like I mentioned, I'll be starting alongside the number 8 of Trevor Egemeyer. He out-qualified me here. Then you're going to see that this inside line is going to get an advantage here on the start, and that's basically in part of the guy behind Trevor Egemeyer and the fact that I kind of held up the outside line to allow them to get the initial start. And I feel like that's kind of a courtesy thing of how you should start these races. The leader dictates the start of the race. So I wanted to make sure that Trevor got on the gas first and that he was able to cross the line before I did, which there's a lot of people that might argue on that point, that, you know, it's kind of like whenever the green flag drops, you just step on it and it doesn't really matter who comes across the line first. So as you can see, we got passed by Avery Schwalm, and I believe on the start of that race, Avery Schwalm was actually pushing Trevor Egemeyer. I would almost like to imagine that Schwalm kind of dictated when Trevor took off, and he was able to pass me because he was technically probably one of the first people to actually get on the gas and get the car going, get the clutch engaged, and once again, momentum. He basically was the first person to throw the ball, and so obviously he's going to get a really good start here within the first lap of this race. And as you can see, I was able to get to his back bumper down the back stretch, and I didn't want to make a move. I just stayed behind him, gave him a little bit of a tap. It's really early on in this race, and I just kind of want to feel out the competition. I don't want to make any aggressive moves early on in the race. And not to mention, this was actually the first time that we had ran this track layout, and I hadn't had a lot of laps with the people that were qualifying towards the front of the field. I was actually kind of working with mid-pack markers, back markers, and it was very important to me. As you can see, we're side by side with another driver. I saw them on the entry of the corner, and I gave them room. I believe it's actually Hunter Richardson here, and he's going to make a move to our inside. As you can notice, this is actually the backwards track layout, no chicane, no kink at the Gateway Kartplex. And the backwards track offers up a lot of more complicated passing opportunities and more interesting spots where you can see some aggressive moves made, as I will pause it on some of those spots here coming. As once again, we are going to stick behind Hunter and push him because, once again, it's very early on in this race, so we don't need to make any super aggressive moves. If he is truly faster and he is going to get to the front of this pack, he's going to battle the people in front of him, and battling the people in front of him, he's going to basically slow both of them down and would give me another opportunity to try to get around him. As we go to turn 3 backwards, this is a very complicated corner because it's a sweeping corner, and you're hitting it at full speed all the way from the extension coming down. So it's one of those corners that you have to back up the brakes, kind of slow in, fast out to kind of make sure that you hit your turn-in point, or are able to hug around that curbing to try to maximize your speed going into 2 and 1. Also, you can see my awesome videographer, Matt Zagaitis, Global Force Kart Sport. Shout out to Matt, doing the hard work there, working the camera, getting some cool shots of us coming through the corner. So yeah, turn 3 in the backwards track configuration is very complicated. And then also, turn 1 on the backwards, as you can see, the line that you want to take to get the best run through turn 1 backwards is you want to go out wide, and then you want to bring it in. And that just, that doesn't just open the door, that opens the garage door for people to make dive bomb moves to get in there, because it's actually what we would consider a late apex. That would be the traditional apex of a corner. You know, you hit it about middle of the inside line. A late apex corner, if we're saying that the track travels in this direction, if you follow my arrow, the new apex would be where the circle is on a late apex corner. We don't actually get our closest to the inside of the curb until after the midway point through the corner. So as you can see, the midway through the corner is probably back where this little black chunk is missing out of this curb. But because of the angle of the corner, you have to hit it late apex to get a good run on the exit. As you can see, it straightens out and we're able to open up through the front stretch on the track. So that is a late apex corner, but that late apex corner allows you to, for somebody behind another driver to get a good run and get to the inside and take that spot away. So early on in the race, you want to run that normal line because you're not really at threat of somebody trying to pass you. And later in the race, you might want to give less room going to that corner. You can see Avery Schwalm gets a really good run out of the hairpin corner down at the extension and is able to get a good run on Trevor Eggemeyer. We have a newcomer alongside of me right here. And as you can see, I'm in a very interesting situation. I don't really like this move here, this little thing that I'm doing. Mostly because I'm risking getting into Hunter Richardson, which there's a scab there that I'm not wanting to pick at. But the thing is, I'm alongside with Nick, and I'm trying to carry my speed through the corner to try to clear Nick on the exit of the corner, but that allows, I have to really get really close to Hunter Richardson here. And right now, it looks like I'm trying to make a pass. And I know that I'm not going to be able to get alongside of him at the apex of this corner. And that's another thing about the way this backwards turn 1 works with the late apex, and the way that the whole physics and the geometry of this corner is, you get to the apex a lot quicker than what it seems, and you run out of room really fast. So I know that I'm not going to be able to make a move on him. You can see I'm on the brakes, and there might be a little bit of contact here, but you can see I ran on the curb. And the big thing is in the Ignite karts, you can use the curbs. Depending on the track layout, and if like a chicane or whatever, you might attack it. And attacking a curb means that you want to get your, if it's like a left-hand corner, you would want to clip your tire on that and kind of hop over it. But the problem becomes that if you get too far over on that curb, you might run your tire over it and jump it, and then it's going to fall off before you clear the curb, and then you're at a risk of actually hitting the back side of the curb, which, I mean, that could do a lot of different things. It could bend up a spindle or damage the wheel, depending on how hard you hit it, how fast you're going. So you have to be very cautious and very precise when you hit a curb. I didn't really want to hit a curb here. You don't want to hit a curb here, but I figured that it'd be better for me to try to get as far away from Hunter Richardson here in this situation as possible. And as you can see, there's no harm, no foul. We made a little bit of contact with Hunter, but he didn't realize it. And we were able to hold off Nick Totenhop. And we lost a lot of speed because of that, as you can see, but we're able to make it up by braking in later in the corner. But braking later in the corner didn't allow us to get as good of a run on the exit. So there's all these different gambles that you have to make. You know, if you're going to sacrifice speed in one spot, that's going to increase your speed in another. So if you're trying to get to a corner really fast, you're going to be really slow on the exit. You enter in a corner really slow, then you'll be really fast on the exit. As you can see here, we're just running single file at this point, and we're going to see a little bit of a bump draft situation kind of play into effect here. And you can see Hunter, once again, with very, I don't want to say positive, but encouraging hand gestures like I talked about in the last one. You don't want to be hands up going floppy hands. You want to be tapping the back of your helmet, pointing out wide. You can see Avery Schwalm's got to run here. And just naturally, me and Hunter also fall in line with Avery Schwalm just because we know that's where the momentum is heading. That hurts Trevor a lot because now he's side by side with Hunter Richardson. Hunter Richardson had a really good run. Is he going to send it into the inside? Yes, he is, because he's got the momentum. Trevor lost the momentum there going side by side with Schwalm. I think that I can make a pass, and clearly I don't have the preferred line through the 90, so I fall back in line behind Trevor Eggemeyer. Once again, a little bit earlier in on the brakes than I would have wanted to, so I still get on the brakes to avoid hitting Trevor. And here we are, we're going to push Trevor. It's going to allow him to push the back bumper of Hunter Richardson. And now, once again, we see the freight train coming into play here. Hunter Richardson gets on the brakes, loses the rear end, allows Trevor to kind of get alongside of him here. Now, I may have made a move to the inside there to pass Hunter Richardson, but once again, it's still early on in the race, so you don't really need to be that aggressive making a move. But we are side by side with Avery Schwalm here. We have the preferred line in turn 1, which means we will clear him by the exit of the corner. So now if we keep playing this hot potato of, here, you get the lead, no, you get the lead, no, you get the lead, then it becomes a situation of whoever's the pusher is going to get to the front. So right here, I have a really good run on Trevor Eggemeyer, and I pass him. Don't really know why, I just did. I figured that now is the time to go, as I believe that was crossed flags that time by. And my thought process now is, instead of doing this thing where a second place guy goes to make a pass on the leader, let's just push Hunter Richardson. Let's burn up some laps and staying in the second place spot, because clearly the guy in second place, if he's getting pushed from behind, he'll be able to get around Hunter Richardson. Now the thing is, the problem is, Trevor Eggemeyer's behind me, and I just passed him. I didn't work with him. So why would Trevor then want to push me to the lead? So probably I may have just lost a friend behind me of a guy that's going to push me to the lead. So as you can see here, we're going to try to get to the back bumper, Hunter Richardson. We're going to stay off, but we're going to stay in line here for a couple laps. Burn up our time, stay in second place instead of trying to get to the lead and then get draft passed once again. So we're going to just, like I said, fall in line. This is a good opportunity to watch some clean laps of this track layout. Once again, backwards track at the Gateway Kartplex. No chicane, which would this be right there. That's the chicane. And then the kink is the chicane on the extension. So we call that the kink right there. Very fast track layout, as you can clearly see. The draft is very important. We're going to reel to the back bumper, give him a good shove down the straightaway. That kind of bumping is fine. If he was under braking and you had that full run of speed, you obviously don't want to hit him. Because in this situation, when you hit a driver going down the straightaway and you think about the weight, I'll take an opportunity to appreciate my sponsor, Skip Barber Racing School. You know, I'll be bringing you guys along for some cool racing schools this season. I just announced that partnership last week, and this is something from them. So this is basically, think of this as a go-kart, right? This is the front of a go-kart. This is the back of a go-kart. And if you're going down a straightaway, you've got all this weight towards the back of the cart because you're accelerating, right? So you got all the weight towards the back, which means that the rear tires are planted, which means if you go to hit somebody, they're not going to spin out. If you go into a braking zone and you hit somebody, it's very light in the back, and it actually has the tail of the cart up, which if you then hit them, it allows your nose to kind of go underneath the cart, lift up the back tires. You have no back tires and you're going into a corner, you're just going to spin around, you're going to snap around. So that's might be where, in some of the mistake videos that I'll show you guys, some of my oopsie moments of me hitting carts in corners, which is a bad habit that I learned in iDrive, because you can do it in the iDrive carts. They're a lot heavier, but in Ignite, because they're so light and you have so much weight going into the front of a cart going into a corner, that if you hit them and you spin them out, that you just can't do that in Ignite. So that's a common problem that I have. But if you're going down a straightaway, if you're at equal speeds, you can bump draft and push them on the rear bumper. Otherwise, going into corners and stuff like that, you want to stay off of the cart in front of you. So that's why the push down the straightaway worked. And at this point, I'm just trying to work with Hunter Richardson, trying to pull away from the field, so that way we can make this a 2-kart battle for the lead instead of a 5-kart battle for the lead. And the thing is I'm basically dictating that. That's my decision. Hunter Richardson doesn't have a say in that. He's basically, at this point, he is just driving. He's trying to get away from me, he's driving. So you can see here, we're going for the pass. We're going to the inside here. He looks to the left, trying to look behind so he can dictate if he needs to make a move going into the corner. And I was already alongside of him. And I'm able to hold this inside line, and I get clear of him. So therefore, now this is my track to work with. Ideally, I think I might have made that move a little too early. I think if I could have done it again, I would have preferred to have made a move, if you're in second place, for the lead. Once again, it depends on the track length, how much room and corners you can work with to make a pass to get it done. But as you can see here, we ain't even at 2 to go. But that's when I would have made a move like that. 2 to go is an opportunity where you have enough time to where you can get past the driver and plan your pass. And then it also is kind of a, I don't want to say courtesy, because you don't want to be courtesy in this kind of situation, but it also kind of gives them a chance to give you a rebuttal pass, which is a good thing for like racing and sportsmanship and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to make a last lap, last corner pass. But once again, going back to an Ignite viewpoint versus a national racing standpoint, last lap, last corner pass is probably the best case scenario, because then it doesn't give them any opportunity to get back around you, as we do get 2 to go that time by. So I definitely think I made my move a little bit too early. I think I should have made the pass going into that corner this lap instead of 2 laps ago. But fortunately for me, I had Avery Schwalm behind me, and he actually was able to kind of help me push me past Hunter Richardson. And now you've got Hunter Richardson and Avery Schwalm battling out for second, which kind of put them towards the back of the pack. So, and it's also something that you really can't think about, you can't determine in a race. As I'll pause, coming to the white flag here. If you can somehow have a say in determining, which this is, you can't really do this. I guess if you're smart enough and you can think this deep in a race, you can get away with it. But if you are leading the race and you get up to the front and you can make 2 carts battle it out for second, you want 2 guys that are going to be more aggressive, that want that second place spot, because they're going to battle for longer and they're going to basically ruin their momentum and their speed and bring second place on back further away from the leader. Now in the situation of like me and Hunter Richardson, once I was able to get around him and I got clear, that's not going to really hurt our speeds collectively. But if I would have been there battling Hunter Richardson for half a lap to a lap, trying to get past him, that's going to hurt our speed, and we would have got past. We would have got probably freight trained by Schwalm and Eggemeyer and whoever else was towards the front of this pack, Nick Todenhop. And so if you can kind of plan your pass, if you've got somebody, if you're running second, you look behind and you have a driver that's a 7.5, 8.5 aggressive driver, and you're trying to pass a 7.5, 8.5 aggressive driver, you would want to make that move, because then once you get by and those 2 guys start battling out, you know that they're not going to give each other an inch and they're going to battle each other hard. If you had a driver that was a 4.5 pushing you, then you kind of know that they might help push you to get by that driver, and then they're not going to want to try to make that move on the more aggressive driver. The aggressive driver is going to fall in line and then start pushing on you. So that's not something that I thought about in this situation, but that's what essentially helped me win this race. Now, Avery Schwalm did have a couple good runs on me, but he was never in my peripheral vision. He was behind me. He was really close. You can see it in some of the photos that Schwagen posted. It was actually on the Gateway Kartplex Facebook page, so I want to give the shout-outs, the plugs, the credits. Mark Schwagen Photography, big fan. But you can see in the photos that it was a close race for the lead. But I was just so laser-focused forwards after getting the lead that I didn't want to think about what was going on behind me. In a white flag lap now, you might want to think about what's going on behind you. As you can see, I'm running middle of the track, so I'm being defensive, because what a lot of guys will do on this backwards track is they'll try to get to your inside here and beat you to what is essentially 3B. So at the Gateway Kartplex, you've got 3A, which is the long sweeper going backwards that I referred to earlier, but 3B is right here as well. Right here. This is what we consider 3B. It's a little, I don't want to call it a kink, because it's, when we think of the kink, we think of down at the extension, but this little in the corner, this is a pinching point, essentially. There's a lot of guys that try to get a good run down the straightaway and they get alongside of a driver, and if I left a cart length of room, now all of a sudden, instead of being all the way out here and he's got room to kind of meet me to the apex, if I've brought the cart down close to the apex, at this point, if he's just a little bit alongside of me, I don't have to turn as much to get to the apex, and he doesn't have enough room to try to get alongside of me. And at this point, if he's trying to make a pass on me, he's staring down the butt end of a curb. So if I hadn't seen him in my peripherals at this point, he ain't there. So I think that might have happened either this lap or the lap before. I couldn't tell. If he's not in my peripherals, I can't see him. Now another thing is you want to be very careful that you don't start getting tunnel vision and you don't start being a little bit more aware of what's alongside of you, because if somebody has a GoPro or if somebody has a parent, which most people have parents or people supporting them at these Ignite races, that see you make something crazy where they are alongside of you and you throw them into a curb, your number's going up, buddy. That's basically something that you also want to be very careful about. So ran a defensive line in that corner, didn't necessarily look behind me, and I think I actually looked behind me at the 90-degree corner coming here after the traditional start-finish line, because that gives me half a lap to kind of defend going down into the hairpin. What line do I have to run to be defensive? About right here at this 90-degree corner, when I'm turning, I might take a peek back, look back towards regular turn 1, and kind of see what my situation is going into this corner. Obviously, I've got nobody behind me because I just opened up that gap to the inside line to get a good run out of the exit of the corner, just to make sure that nobody gets a better run behind me and is able to get by. Checker flag comes out, hands are up off the wheels, celebrating. My foot came off the pedals pretty heavily, and I'm an excited guy. So that's that. That's the race. As you can see, once again, like I said in the last video, you want to be very, very positive and encouraging to other drivers. You want to give the thumbs up, the fist bumps, and obviously if you've had a run-in with a driver, go talk to them, go address it. If you have something that happens, a problem, you want to kind of clear the air, especially in Ignite. Ignite, everyone's friend. We're all trying to enjoy the race, have a good time. So if something happens out on the racetrack, you want to make it right. Being a nice guy pays off a lot more than being a big meanie. That's my life lesson for the day. And that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment down below what you guys enjoyed, or if you saw something in this video that you would like further explanation about, or disagree with something that I might have said, leave that in the comments down below. You know, I'm broadcasting this out to the public, and whatever we can do to kind of benefit and further help the karting community is always welcomed and appreciated. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.